Hello, and welcome back to Coffee English, the podcast that changes how you think about learning languages forever. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is deleting their English learning app. They are closing their grammar book and thinking they are just not smart enough to learn English. They have been studying for months, maybe years, but they feel like they are going nowhere. Here is what no one tells you. The problem is not you. The problem is not your brain. The problem is not your ability. The problem is the system you have been taught to believe in. Today, I am going to share something that might sound crazy at first. Discipline, the thing everyone says you need more of, might actually be destroying your progress. The harder you try to force yourself to study, the further you get from real fluency. This episode will show you why motivation works like gravity. You cannot see it, but it controls everything. And just like gravity, when you understand how it really works, you can use it to achieve things that seemed impossible before. By the end of this conversation, you will understand why some people learn languages effortlessly while others struggle for years with the same methods. You will discover a completely different way to approach English learning, one that feels natural and sustainable. I want you to think about your own journey as we talk. Have you ever felt excited about learning English at the beginning, but then lost that excitement over time? Have you ever wondered why some days studying feels easy and other days it feels like pushing a rock uphill? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might be exactly what another learner needs to hear today. Let us start with something that will surprise you. Here is a quick experiment for you. I want you to think about the last time you watched a movie or TV show in English. Not for studying, just for fun. How did you feel during that experience? Excited? Curious? Engaged? Now think about the last time you sat down with your grammar book or opened your vocabulary app because you had to study. How did you feel then? Probably quite different, right? This difference you just felt is the key to everything we will talk about today. Scientists call this the difference between two types of motivation. When you want to learn versus when you feel you must learn. But I call it the difference between learning like a child and studying like a prisoner. When you were watching that movie, your brain was in what researchers call a flow state. Time moved quickly. You forgot about everything else. You absorbed English naturally without effort. But when you opened that grammar book because you felt you should, your brain went into resistance mode. Time moved slowly. Every minute felt like work. This is not a personal weakness. This is how human brains are designed to work. Let me tell you about something fascinating that happens in your brain when you learn. Scientists have discovered something amazing about how we learn. When you learn English because you truly want to, not because someone tells you to, your brain works much better. But here is the part that will surprise you. When you study English because you have to, because someone told you to, or because you feel guilty if you do not, your brain creates stress chemicals. These chemicals actually block the parts of your brain that help you learn new languages. It is like trying to run with heavy shoes. But when you engage with English because you are genuinely interested, because you want to understand something cool, or because you are having fun, your brain creates completely different chemicals. These good chemicals help open up the learning parts of your brain and make everything stick better. Think about a child learning their first language. Do they sit down and study grammar rules? Do they make vocabulary lists? No, they learn through play, through curiosity, through genuine engagement with the world around them. The same principle applies to you as an adult. The most effective language learners are not the most disciplined ones. They are the ones who have found ways to make learning feel like play again. Now, let me tell you why discipline actually works against you in language learning. This might be hard to accept at first, especially if you have been taught that success requires willpower and self-control. Discipline is like a muscle that gets tired. Research shows that our willpower is like a battery. When you force yourself to study English using only willpower, this battery gets empty quickly. When you force yourself to study English through pure discipline, you use up this resource quickly. By the end of the day or by the end of the week, you have nothing left. That is why most people can stick to strict study schedules for a few weeks, but then burn out completely. Here is what happens in your brain. When you rely on discipline, you are fighting against your natural impulses every single day. Your brain sees studying as a threat, something that takes you away from more immediate pleasures. So it starts creating resistance. It makes you feel tired when you open your English book. It makes you think of 1,000 other things you should be doing instead. This is not laziness. This is your brain trying to protect you from what it perceives as stress and discomfort. But there is another way. Instead of fighting against your brain, you can work with it. Instead of forcing motivation, you can create the conditions where motivation happens naturally. Let me give you a simple example from everyday life. Think about someone who loves cooking. Do they force themselves to go to the kitchen every day? Do they need discipline to try new recipes? No. They cook because it brings them joy, because they are curious about flavors, because they love the process itself. The same thing can happen with English learning. When you find your intrinsic reasons for learning, when you connect English to things you naturally love, discipline becomes unnecessary. You study because you want to, not because you have to. So what does real motivation look like? Let me share the 3 pillars that make learning English feel effortless and sustainable. First pillar is autonomy. This means having control over what you learn and how you learn it. When someone else chooses your entire study plan, your brain fights back. But when you choose what interests you, when you decide your own path, learning becomes fun again. Think about it this way. If someone forces you to eat the same meal every day, even if it is healthy, you will start to hate it. But if you can choose from a variety of healthy options based on what you crave, eating well becomes natural and sustainable. The same applies to English learning. Instead of following someone else's rigid curriculum, ask yourself what aspects of English genuinely interest you. Do you love stories? Engage with English through novels or podcasts. Are you fascinated by business? Learn through business content. Do you enjoy humor? Watch English comedians and learn through laughter. Second pillar is feeling successful. This means feeling like you are actually getting better, like your hard work is paying off. Most old methods make progress hard to see. You study grammar rules, but you cannot see how they help in real conversations. You learn vocabulary lists, but you do not notice improvement in your speaking. Real motivation comes from visible progress. This is why people get addicted to video games. Every action leads to immediate feedback. Every challenge overcome brings a clear reward. In English learning, you need to create the same quick rewards. Instead of just studying, use English in ways where you can immediately see your improvement. Have conversations where you notice you understand more than last week. Read articles where you realize you know words you did not know before. Watch movies where you catch jokes you would have missed in the past. third pillar is purpose. This means connecting your English learning to something bigger than just language skills. Why do you really want to speak English? Not because it looks good on your resume, but because of what it will allow you to do, who it will help you become, what dreams it will help you achieve. Maybe English will help you connect with people from around the world. Maybe it will give you access to knowledge that only exists in English. Maybe it will allow you to share your own culture and ideas with a global audience. When you connect your daily study to these deeper purposes, motivation stops being something you have to create and becomes something that creates itself. Let me share a simple game that will show you how powerful this approach can be. For the next 7 days, I want you to engage with English in only ways that genuinely interest you. No textbooks, no grammar exercises, no vocabulary lists. If you love music, spend time with English songs. If you enjoy cooking, watch cooking videos in English. If you are interested in science, read science articles in English. If you like gossip, read celebrity news in English. The rule is simple. If you are not genuinely curious about the content, do not use it for learning. Most people are shocked by what happens during this week. They realize they can learn English while having fun. They discover that when they are engaged, they absorb language much faster than when they are forcing themselves through boring exercises. This game works because it shows your brain that English can be a source of pleasure, not just work. Once your brain makes this connection, motivation becomes automatic. Today, I want to share a phrase that English speakers use when something suddenly makes sense, when understanding happens naturally and effortlessly. We say, "It clicks for me." For example, you might say, "I tried to understand this grammar rule for weeks, but today it finally clicked for me," or "English pronunciation never made sense until I started watching movies. Then it clicked for me." This phrase is perfect for describing those magical moments in language learning when everything suddenly becomes clear. The beautiful thing about intrinsic motivation is that it creates more of these clicking moments because your brain is relaxed and open to making connections. When you stop forcing learning and start allowing learning, English will click for you in ways you never imagined. Here is my challenge for you. For the next 30 days, completely abandon discipline-based studying. Instead, create what I call a curiosity-based learning system. Every day, ask yourself one question. What am I genuinely curious about today? Then find a way to explore that curiosity through English. If you are curious about what happened in the news, read English news. If you are curious about a hobby, watch English videos about that hobby. If you are curious about other people's lives, listen to English podcasts where people share their stories. The goal is not to study English. The goal is to satisfy your curiosity using English as your tool. This approach works because it aligns with how your brain naturally wants to learn. Your brain loves novelty. It loves solving problems. It loves understanding new things. When you feed these natural desires through English, learning happens effortlessly. But here is the most important part. Do not judge your progress by traditional measures during these 30 days. Do not worry about how many new words you learned or how many grammar rules you mastered. Instead, notice how you feel about English. Notice if your relationship with the language is changing. Notice if learning feels lighter, more natural, more enjoyable. After 30 days, you will have built a completely new foundation for learning English. A foundation based on genuine interest rather than forced discipline. a foundation that can support years of growth without burning out. As we finish today, I want you to remember something important. English is not your enemy. Learning is not supposed to feel like punishment. Your brain is not broken if traditional methods do not work for you. You have everything you need inside you already. The curiosity, the intelligence, the ability to grow and change. The only thing you need to add is a system that works with your nature instead of against it. When you find your intrinsic reasons for learning, when you connect English to your genuine interests and deeper purposes, something magical happens. Learning stops feeling like work and starts feeling like discovery. Progress stops being something you have to force and becomes something that happens naturally. Remember, the most successful English learners are not the most disciplined. They are the most curious. They are the ones who have found ways to make English learning feel like play. Your journey with English can be joyful, sustainable, and deeply rewarding. It all starts with understanding that motivation is not something you need to create through willpower. Motivation is something you uncover by connecting learning to what you already love. Thank you for joining me on Coffee English today. If this episode changed how you think about learning English, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Your story and your progress can inspire others to find their own path to English fluency. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember that the best learning happens when it does not feel like learning at all. This is Coffee English, where we change how you think about language learning forever.